My husband recently noticed that I had RPE and RIR in the same program, so I thought it would be a great conversation to have. Why did I have RPE and RIR in the same program? What even is it, and how do we use it? Hi, my name is Mel. I've been a powerlifting coach for over 15 years now. I've learned a lot of tips and tricks along the way to help you become a stronger, more confident lifter. I talk about the mental and physical components of lifting, especially for powerlifting women. You're going to learn about the differences between RPE and RIR and how to incorporate them into your program. If you find this interesting, you should share this with your fellow lifters or with your coach so they can start implementing the things you're going to learn within the video. RPE means Rate of Perceived Exertion. This came from the original Borg scale, which was a scale from 6 to 20. It represented people's perceived rate of exertion when they're doing a cardiovascular exercise, with 6 representing very little to no intensity at all, and 20 representing max exertion. This was a way to gauge people's heart rate. 6 representing 60, 20 representing 200, which represents the general lower and upper values of most adults. They came to find that when they used the Borg scale, people were pretty good at gauging their level of exertion. Eventually, they modified the Borg scale and made it 0 to 10, which is the traditional RPE scale that is used commonly now. And 0 represented the zero exertion or very minimal, and 10 represented max exertion, which is very intuitive for most people. Now, coaches and lifters adopted the RPE scale for intensity when there's no load prescription, where 10 is all out max effort and 5-ish might be your warm up. Around 2020, I began to implement the RIR system, which is repetitions in reserve. This has been shown to be very intuitive for lifters, where you can gauge about how many reps you have left in the tank after your set was done. Many people define RPE and RIR as inverses of one another, where RIR 0 would be RPE 10 and RIR 10 might be RPE 0. I feel like the RIR range is more useful for up to around 5. Any more than that is really hard for lifters to gauge, whereas the RPE scale is also not very useful under the 5 range. I would use RIR for heavy lifts and lower rep ranges, whereas I would use RPE for any cardiovascular or conditioning work. If I have sled pushes, I am more likely to use RPE because RIR doesn't really make sense. And for a maximal effort lift, I'm more likely to say go to RIR 0 to 1 versus RPE 10. I heavily utilize half ranges for RIR. The half to me represents uncertainty. I may have been able to do another rep. If you're sure you could have done 2 more, you're confident in it, you give yourself a 2. If you're like, I think I could have done 2 more, that's when it would be a 1.5. One of the criticisms I get for RIR is I don't know how to gauge my RIR correctly. I don't know if I'm actually able to do 2 more reps when I say I have RIR 2. First of all, RIR isn't meant to be an exact science. It's meant to gauge how you feel in that moment. This is for autoregulation. Autoregulation basically means adjusting your own program based on how it feels. Since I'm an online coach and I'm not there to guide you in person and say put more weight on or take more weight off, I'm able to say stay within this RIR range of how you feel to get the load that we should be using for that set. Another way that we approach this is by doing AMRAPS. If you have an exercise where you're like, I don't even know how RIR 0 would feel on this exercise, therefore I don't even know how much I can push myself. I don't know how many more reps I could have done if I were to max. You guys can still max out your accessory exercises. You just don't want to max them out with 1 rep. You can find a 10 rep max or take a weight to failure. If I'm gonna do a Bulgarian split squat, and let's say I always do 25 pounds in each hand and I'm able to do 8 to 10 reps, and that feels like an RIR 3. If you took that weight and you tried to do as many reps as you could, what if instead of doing 8 to 10 reps, you ended up doing 20 reps? Well, you know that you are way undershooting your accessory workout. I encourage you guys to talk to me to figure out when that's appropriate to do. You don't wanna be going going and doing your AMRAPS or 10 rep maxes in your meet preps. You want to do those when you're in your off season, when you have the time and when you have the recovery ability to push to your max for your accessories. And this is kind of a fun thing to do, right? So you really need to be able to mentally push yourself, and your AMRAP is going to look different from day to day as well. So it's not a set in stone AMRAP. It's just something good to have in mind. This is something I'll incorporate into my lifters' accessory movements, where we do an AMRAP at the end of their workout, where they're doing their Bulgarian split squats for 3 sets of 8 to 10, except for the last set, instead of doing 8 to 10, they'll do as many reps as they can. And then I'll write a note that says, if you did more than 3 reps, make sure you're adding weight next week. That way they know, okay, I did 5 reps, I'm gonna add more weight next week. Rather than having them do the same accessory load week after week and not really getting any progress because they're not pushing themselves hard enough. I wanna get to know the lifter and how intense they think that their set was. And this is why I have you guys label your videos based on your RIR that you used. Because sometimes I look at someone's training and it looks really easy to me, but they're saying it's RIR 1 or 2, where to me it looks like it could have been a warm-up. And then other times I'm blown away by how every single rep looks like RIR 0, but they do 10 full reps. I have you guys fill out a readiness scale before your workout. The reason we look at the readiness scale is to determine how hard we should push ourselves that particular day. So if you rate yourself high on the readiness scale, then we might be able to decrease RIR or push a little harder. Or if you're not feeling very good that day, we can increase RIR, increase rest times, and allow you to complete the workout without having to completely overhaul the workout. And this is built right into your program, which is super convenient. Many coaches might use RPE, RIR, and percentage-based programs interchangeably, and I don't think they're interchangeable. You should use load percentages independently of RIR, and actually you should have both. You can prescribe, let's say, 85% for triples, and also have them tell you their RIR so that you can know how hard does 85% feel to this person. If 85% for triples feels pretty easy, that might mean that this person is very well recovered. That might mean that their maxes are way too low and they need to do another testing session. That might also just mean that they're having a good day. And so based on this feedback, the program can be adjusted. All in all, if you're prescribed an RIR range, just do your best to figure out what it is and learn about your body over time. And also look at your videos. The feedback that you're getting from recording yourself is going to inform you about how the weight feels to you versus how it moves. Women tend to undershoot their training and men tend to overshoot their training. And just by that small snippet of information, you can probably guess that if you're a woman, you're going to rate yourself lower on the RIR scale. You're going to say you have fewer reps left in the tank, whereas a man might rate themselves much higher. They might do a max effort set and think that they did an RIR 4. I could have done 4 more. I could have done 4 more. We all know that guy. Overall, RPE and RIR aren't there to trick you or make you second guess your workouts. It's really there to help guide you and help you figure out how you're feeling and get you a little bit more connected to your body. There's no real right or wrong. Your best guess is just fine. We're gonna look at trends over time, and we're also gonna have days where we test and I'm able to give you better guidance on what your RIR actually might be. Trust yourself, trust your coach, and don't second guess things. If you learned something today, let me know what it was in the comments. See you in the next one. Bye.